You know what's wild? Every time I see my boys with their earbuds in, lost in their own little worlds, I think about Mildred from Fahrenheit 451 with her seashells, those little radio earbuds that Bradbury imagined back in 1953. He wasn't just writing about science fiction, folks. He was sending us a warning. The scary part? We're not just living in the world he predicted. We're choosing it. We're building it. Every day, with every click, with every scroll, we're making his nightmare more real. Hey book lovers, I'm John, and today we're diving into a novel that hits different now than when I first read it, especially for someone like me who's watched technology evolve from basic computers to AI assistants that can think and talk with us. Because Bradbury didn't just predict our technology, he predicted what it would do to our souls. Let me paint you a picture of Montag's world. He's a fireman, but not like any fireman you may know. His job? Setting fires, specifically burning books. And here's the kicker, he loves it. At least he thinks he does. That opening line, "It was a pleasure to burn." That's not just shock value. That's Bradbury showing us how people can learn to love what destroys them. But Montag's not just any fireman. He's good at his job, takes pride in it. The smell of kerosene is like perfume to him. And why wouldn't it be? In his world, books are dangerous. They make people unhappy. They make people think. And thinking, that's the real crime. The real horror, though, is in Montag's wife, Mildred. Man, if you want to see something scary, look at Mildred. She spends her days immersed in parlor walls, which are interactive TV screens that make our current smart TVs look primitive by comparison. She calls the characters on her shows the family. Sounds a lot like those parasocial relationships people have with influencers today, doesn't it? She's so disconnected from reality that she can't even remember taking pills that nearly ended her. Think about that for a second. She's so numb, she doesn't even remember trying to end it all. And the next morning, right back to her shows, right back to her seashells, right back to the comfortable numbness. Then there's Clarice McClellan, this 17-year-old girl who changes everything for Montag just by asking one simple question. Are you happy? Now, that might not sound like much, but in a world where nobody stops to think, actually asking someone about their feelings, that's revolutionary. Clarice is different because she actually thinks, actually notices the world around her. She walks in the rain, she looks at flowers, she talks about real things. And in Montag's world, that makes her dangerous. So dangerous that, well, I won't spoil what happens to her, but let's just say society doesn't take kindly to people who make others think. Now, let's talk about Captain Beatty, because this guy is terrifying in a way that most villains aren't. He's not some mindless book burner. No. What makes Beatty scary is that he's read everything. He understands exactly what he's destroying. When Beatty visits Montag at home, which is one of the most chilling scenes in the book, he lays out exactly how society came to be. And folks, this is where Bradbury's warning gets real uncomfortable. Beatty explains that it wasn't the government that started banning books, it was us. People wanted things shorter, simpler, easier to digest. Listen to this. School is shortened, discipline relaxed, philosophies, histories, languages dropped, English and spelling gradually neglected, finally almost completely ignored. Tell me that doesn't sound like what we're seeing today. I know when I send my kids to school, I'm amazed by just how different the curriculum is from when I was a kid. We didn't need Captain Beatty to burn our books. We just needed shorter and shorter content until we couldn't focus on anything longer than a TikTok video. Then there's the mechanical hound, this 8-legged robotic nightmare that hunts down free thinkers. It's programmed with the chemical index of any person's scent. And once it has your trail, well, let's just say you don't want this thing chasing you. But here's where Bradbury's genius shows through. The Hound isn't just some sci-fi monster. It's technology turned against humanity. Sound familiar? Our phones track our locations, our interests. They know more about us than we know about ourselves. And just like the Hound, our technology doesn't care about right or wrong. It just follows programming. The algorithms don't care if they're spreading truth or lies, happiness or hate. They just want to keep you engaged, keep you scrolling, keep you docile. But there's hope in this story, and it comes from an unlikely place. An old professor named Faber. He tells Montag that there are 3 things missing from their world. 3 things we need to be truly human. 1. Quality information. Not just facts, but ideas that make us think. 2. The leisure to digest it, the time to actually sit with these ideas. And number 3, the right to act on what we learn, the freedom to change our world. You know what's interesting? We have more access to information than ever before, but we're missing the other 2 elements. When was the last time you sat with an idea without reaching for your phone? When was the last time you let something really bother you enough to take action? Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful parts of the book. The people who become living books. These folks memorize entire books to preserve them. Think about that commitment. That's not like memorizing your favorite TikTok dance. These people become the books that they're saving. You know what gets me about this part? It's not just about preserving words. It's about keeping ideas alive. Each person chooses a book that matters to them, that speaks to their soul. They don't just memorize it, they live it. And here's something beautiful. They pass these books down orally, person to person, real human connection, real conversation, everything their society tried to destroy. Folks, we're at a crossroads that Bradbury saw coming. We might not be burning books, but we're doing something that might be worse. We're actively choosing not to read them. We're choosing the easy over the meaningful, the quick over the lasting. When Montag starts reading books, he says something that keeps me up at night. He says, we need to be really bothered once in a while. How long is it since you've been really bothered about something important, something real? That's what books do. They bother us. They make us think. They make us uncomfortable. And maybe that's exactly what we need right now. The book ends with an atomic war destroying the city. Some might call that a heavy-handed approach, but I don't think so. Because what Bradbury is showing us is that a society that chooses comfort over truth, entertainment over wisdom, will eventually destroy itself. But he also shows us a sunrise after the destruction. The book people walking through the ashes, carrying humanity's greatest thoughts in their hearts and minds. Because that's the thing about wisdom. You can't burn it if people choose to keep it alive. Fahrenheit 451 isn't just about burning books. It's about the choices that we face every day. Do we want comfort or do we want truth? Do we want to be entertained or do we want to truly live? For me, this book gets a solid 10 out of 10. Not just for its story, but for how frighteningly accurate its warnings turned out to be. And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to heed those warnings. So what do you think? Has Fahrenheit 451's warnings changed how you see your relationship with technology, with books, with thinking itself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation that would make Clarice proud. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a book that seems more prophecy than fiction, hit subscribe for more analysis of books that make us think. And remember, in a world designed to numb us, sometimes the most rebellious act is to simply stay awake. Until next time, keep reading, keep thinking, and stay curious. This is John, and I'll see you in the next one.